So, in the bathroom, the lovely lady cleans herself and freshens up. Meanwhile, Yo-eun cleans a small table. But then he reflects on the fact that she remembered his address and thought that when she came before, she had forgotten. That leads him to assume that she will always remember him, questioning whether that means he can go to her apartment without warning. Since he believes that will happen, he considers cleaning the apartment every day because he doesn't want anything to smell weird. He even thinks that maybe he should buy an air freshener. That's when Hae-in calls Yo-eun and tells him there are no towels in the bathroom, asking if he could bring her one. He responds that he will get one immediately, to which she nods, indicating she will wait. But in his nervousness, the young man gets confused and starts looking for a towel, as he seems to have forgotten where he keeps them. After finding one, he gives it to Hae-in, who thanks him before closing the door. The boy wonders where all this tension is coming from if he only gave her a towel. He sits on the floor and reflects that he needs to calm down, as in moments like this, it is necessary to stay composed. He starts imagining a blasphemous remix, and as he meditates on it, he believes he is about to have an epiphany. But then Hae-in appears, calling him and asking if the shirt he lent her isn't too big. This leaves the young man surprised and blushing at such beauty. For her part, the girl comments that it looks like the shirt will fall off if she moves a little and asks if he doesn't have a tighter one. Then, she strikes a pose and jokingly asks if she should keep wearing that shirt out of respect for his taste. Yo-woon turns as red as a tomato but plays along, saying he doesn't have any other clothes. However, Hae-in asks him not to lie and tells him she just needs another piece of clothes. The young man agrees. So, she puts on a sweatshirt and says this will do. She considers that it's a large size, but she can zip it up. She adds that he has very broad shoulders and notices that the clothes fit him very loosely, which she finds incredible. Changing the subject, Yo-woon asks how she finished work so quickly, as he thought he had heard that she would be working late into the night. She reflects on that and remembers that she was recording the singing. Immediately, she informs those outside that she will keep what she just sang and asks them to play the pre-chorus first. Then, she says that she just finished the verses and will use them as a mixing source, as well as recording them separately. Outside the booth, they inform her that the monitoring is done. There are a couple of young people present. Hwam Ki-hoo, the lead guitarist of Long Afternoon, comments that she is recording very quickly today and that she usually does takes until she is satisfied. He asks if this isn't her song, to which Lim Ji-won, the bassist of Long Afternoon, replies that it will be noticeable in the result, since she is doing it perfectly as always. After some time, Hae-in leaves the music studio and informs them that her part is finished. One of the guys gives his approval and congratulates her on a job well done. Then, he says they are done for today and suggests that maybe they could have a party. However, Hae-in interrupts him, rejecting the idea and informing them that she has work. That leaves the young man somewhat confused. She explains that they will have the party after the mixing is done and that the drums were recorded first. Additionally, she congratulates everyone and informs them that she will leave first, asking them to be careful when returning home. She leaves the place. Seeing that, Kim Hoon can't believe it, as he was waiting to invite her for a drink to celebrate the new song release. He wonders if she has a boyfriend. So in the present, Hae-in and Yo-woon are eating fried chicken. She says that she doesn't know when they will finish recording, so she always allows extra time. That's why she sometimes finishes earlier than expected. The young man understands that and admits that he finds it interesting. Just then, Hae-in suggests having a drink before listening to the new Long Afternoon song, and Yo-woon asks if what she has isn't an expensive whiskey. She replies that she is drinking it because she got a little, and she confesses that it is not that expensive. Then, she pours some for both herself. Yo-woon drinks it all in one go, which impresses Hae-in. It is then that he asks if she isn't going to drink. She responds that no, because she is worried about getting drunk too quick. Hearing that, he thinks that he doesn't believe she got drunk that fast the last time she drank whiskey. But Hae-in changes the subject and asks if they shouldn't start with the review first. The young man agrees since it is getting late and asks to play the music. The new song, Blue Kite. He asks if she is ready, to which she nods and suggests starting at the same time. So they press play and focus on the music. Hyein reflects that this is the same song she has recorded and mixed hundreds of times. She thought that upon hearing it, she would be bored, but now, listening to it, she recalls all the thoughts she had while composing it. Fixing some parts and trying out melodies, adding instruments, or even changing the lyrics. Countless thoughts run through her mind, considering that a part of her is in that song. Additionally, just knowing that someone in the world will listen to it makes her feel overwhelmed. It is then that she takes a sip of her drink and wonders if Yeowon is liking it. She imagines his reaction of approval and happiness while listening to the music, but also the possibility of disapproval and disappointment with the new song. However, in the end, she concludes that any reaction is fine as long as he listens to her songs. Obviously, she thinks it would be better if he liked it. It is then that she looks at him and notices that, in reality, he is on the verge of tears. Seeing that, Hain thinks it's ridiculous and wonders if he is about to cry. Then she calls him, and he, surprised, asks if she has finished listening. But she, somewhat worried, asks what he was thinking about. The young man replies that the song is very good and that the lyrics really moved him. Even more when it said, "Barely flies at the height of your eyes but does not show itself. With a fading I can cling to but cannot reach. Still today, I resemble you." That part of the lyrics shook him. Then he asks her what she thought of it. She thinks for a moment and responds that the acoustic guitar recording was truly beautiful. Yeowon laughs as he finds her evaluation too vague and asks her to tell him more about how she felt. Then she talks about the melody, but then wonders what she should do. She remembers that when she found out about things like the music gathering, she didn't want to attend because she thought she would fade away. But now, she wants to get drunk as if there were no tomorrow. She wants to talk and play. She confesses that her heart feels like it's about to explode. On the other hand, Yeowon looks at her and, slightly blushing, wonders what he can do. He thinks that maybe it's because he hasn't had a strong drink in a while, or maybe it's the music. But at this moment, the only thing he desires is to be able to hug Hain. He questions whether these are his true feelings. So the night continues, with plenty of drinks and food. At one point, Hain raises her glass and says, "That's when it all started." When the Beatles arrived at New York Airport on February 7, 1964, there was a genuine frenzy. The airport came to a standstill, marking the beginning of the British invasion. She adds that in any case, the Beatles had tons of female fans as idols of the time, so when a journalist approached them and asked them to sing for the audience, all four responded in unison, "Let them pay first." That makes them both start laughing. Yeon says it's funny and immediately points out that she must be a huge Beatles fan since she knows that story by heart. The girl replies that the Beatles were the first pop music her uncle played when she was a child. She was always listening to their songs, so it was a cultural shock for her to hear something so old. At first, she didn't like the sound quality and didn't understand the lyrics, so she thought that was the reason and refused to listen to them. But the more she listened, the more she realized how good and surprising they were. The voices of people who lived before she was born kept singing to her even in the present. That's why she wanted to dedicate herself to music. She wanted her voice to be heard even hundreds of years later, even after aliens invaded Earth. Hearing that, Yeon is intrigued. Hain responds that yes, the guild aliens will take over the planet. The boy asks what that is and if it's a prophecy, but his friend replies no, it's a fact since the human race descends from aliens. Yoon starts laughing and comments that she sounds like a child. However, a doubt arises in the young man, and he asks if she doesn't make music, as he would like to hear some of her songs. Hain thinks about it for a moment and before answering about her songs, lowers her gaze and reflects. Then she replies that she doesn't have any yet, and moreover, she doesn't have a favorite song. Her friend mentions that it's a shame because he's sure her songs would be good. That's when she changes the subject and mentions that, instead, she'll make him a special whiskey cocktail. Yoon responds that he can't drink anymore, that he thinks he has had too much that night, and adds that he loved Long Afternoon's new song, and that the story was interesting. Haeyeon asks if he is sleepy. He replies that he is a little since he stayed up late the night before due to his exams. That makes his friend think of something, and, in a spontaneous act, she lies down on Yeon's legs while grabbing her phone. Seeing her, he asks what she's doing, and Haeyeon responds that she's lying down and writing in her journal. She explains that she has an app called Letters to the Stars. In that app, every day you write a line about how you feel, and a star appears in the sky. She thinks it's something really beautiful. Yeon, blushing, asks if she's going to write today. She, also blushing, replies yes and adds that she will write that his thighs are just the right amount of soft and firm, so they're perfect as pillows. That sparks the young man's curiosity, and he asks what exactly that means. Haeyeon responds that she's going to write that she'll sleep using him as a pillow. He laughs and replies that if that's the case, he'll also sleep using her. She looks at him with some curiosity and asks if that's true or if he's joking. Looking at her closely, he asks if she's not scared and if she thinks he's serious. But confident, Haeyeon sighs and responds that she's not scared and that he's drunk. That's how she gets up and asks why they don't go to sleep since she's also a bit tired. At that moment, he says he's not drunk, confessing that he really wants to sleep in her arms that night. And with a gaze that pierces the soul, he asks if she will let him. Haeyeon remains silent for a few seconds and responds with a question, wanting to know if he is brave enough to embrace her. He opens his arms and asks for a hug, assuring her that he won't stop her. That's how he dives headfirst into that opportunity, literally throwing himself and making both of them fall to the floor. Haeyeon looks completely surprised and embarrassed. For his part, Yoon says he's holding himself back a lot, that he doesn't want to treat her badly, and that he doesn't want to do anything. Upon hearing that, she seems to understand, smiles with her eyes, and says she gets it, that she will really let him. That they can stay embraced that night. And it seems that happens, because after a few seconds like that, Haeyeon calls him. But he responds that it's great. That leaves the girl curious, wondering if he really fell asleep while they were hugging. She remembers that he said he had been up late the previous night because of his exams, in addition to the fact that they drank whiskey together. That's when she, with great effort, starts moving him toward the bed. Once there, she looks at him for a moment and reflects on how, after drinking, he falls asleep, giving him small taps. Then, she starts taking off his sweatshirt and thinks that at least he said something, wondering if he would mind if she snuggled up with him. She throws the sweatshirt onto the couch and hugs. That makes her realize that she likes the smell of his soap, the scent of his fabric softener, and the slight smoky touch of the whiskey. She feels like he's driving her crazy, that she wants to smell his neck, that she desires to sense the scent of his bare skin. She concludes that she loves his scent. But she doesn't want him to know that she didn't tell him it was long, that she didn't reveal everything about herself, that she cowardly hid to observe his reaction and revel in it all. That leads her to reflect on something deeper. Maybe it's not Yeowoon who lacks the courage to embrace someone, but rather the person hiding their identity. Maybe it's her. That's how the next day, Yeowoon wakes up, confesses that he's going to have a headache, and wonders how much he drank last night. Moreover, he questions when he got to bed and remembers Haeyeon talking about the Beatles the night before. He wonders what happened next and doesn't remember anything, so he hugs the blanket and thinks that he doesn't know what happened, but that he'll sleep a little longer, believing that Haeyeon went home first. However, he feels something strange and wonders what it is and why the blanket is so stiff. He questions what's there, and upon touching the blanket, it seems very soft or something like that. That's when Haeyeon starts emerging from there, saying good morning and laughing a little. That leaves the young man completely shocked. She, on the other hand, asks if he slept well and hopes he wasn't uncomfortable because of her. Yeun, still confused, wonders what's going on and if he really slept with her last night. He questions whether they were in the same bed and can't believe it. He thinks it can't be true and wonders if he made a mistake. Just at that moment, she asks if he wants ramen for breakfast. And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.